From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Caring for gentle giants.
You gain respect for them and they gain respect for you.
See how a group of 4-H students is keeping the legacy of draft horses alive. What caused food prices to spike after the pandemic? One economist thinks he knows the answer. The business of harnessing the power of the sun.
It's normally, I would say, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 in that range per acre per year.
What farmers need to know about the demand for farmland for solar projects right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. More farmers choose Pioneer brand corn because it delivers game-changing yields. Join a winning team. Pioneer brand corn. Your best year starts here.
Good morning, I'm Quentin Griffiths. While land prices may be cooling a bit right now, interest in using farmland for solar projects is heating up. And it seems more and more producers are being asked about leasing their land to help utilize the power of the sun. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan looks into some of the eye-popping rates being tossed around in the Midwest.
More than commodity prices, higher interest rates, and the pain from inflation is also working against land values right now. But one area that's beefing up competition is the growth of solar leasing on farmland. Todd Jansen is an ag lawyer based in Indiana. He says solar leasing started in the Hoosier State 5 years ago, but today it's gaining traction and some controversy.
One of the common themes is that these are really long-term leases. So farmers are used to 1 to maybe 5-year cash rent leases, and these are 20, 30, 40 years. So they're really a generational decision that needs to be made.
Jansen has looked at numerous leasing contracts for landowners, and the rates are all over the board.
The lowest I've ever seen is $500 an acre, and that was really low. It's normally, I would say, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 in that range per acre per year over the life of 20 plus years.
Purdue University's latest Ag Economy Barometer showed 16% of respondents say they discussed leasing farmland for solar energy within the last 6 months. And as for rates, 69% said the rates they were offered was $1,000 per acre or more, up from 27% who responded that way a year prior. And 27% of respondents in the latest barometer say they were offered a rate of $1,500 per acre or more. But in Illinois, farmers are reporting eye-popping offers. One farmer near Morton, Illinois, sent us this unsolicited letter that he received. The company offered a rate of $3,200 to $4,500 per acre, plus another $1,000 if the farmer signed a letter of intent, along with $3,000 upon signing the cash lease. So where is all this money coming from? During an interview last month, AgriTalk's Chip Flory asked Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack if the Inflation Reduction Act is being used to bankroll some of these eye-popping lease offers.
From a standpoint of the individual farming operation, the REAP program basically pays 50% of the cost of the installation. There's a tax credit that will give you another 40% of the value, so 90% of the cost of an individual solar operation, a windmill, things of that nature, can be paid under the IRA.
Are you hearing concern from the countryside about taking some very productive farm ground out of production for the solar farms?
Well, there's always that concern, but the reality is that that's not as prevalent as it may seem. Less than 1% of the land currently engaged here.
I think that's one of the surprises is that we used to see it was a lot of landowners who weren't really in farming anymore. But anymore, we also see a lot of farmers who just think, let's take 100 acres and put it into solar so that we can diversify our income stream.
But whether the lease is for a few years or up to a 40-year agreement, there's no guarantee the money will be there for that long.
Of course, there's always risk that the rent won't be paid, and then you'll have to try to foreclose on the solar company. We haven't seen that yet, so that's great.
Yet Jansen points out there are still risks.
I think the biggest risk right off the bat is that once you sign it up, that land is going to be tied up for years and years and years. So you're giving up any other opportunities that may come along, including maybe another solar company that comes a year from now and is willing to offer an even better rate. And I think there's There's some risk too on a personal level. These are becoming somewhat controversial at the county level. And so it can divide neighbors and counties, which is unfortunate, but it's also a reality.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Happening right now, people in northern Arkansas are dealing with flash flooding after more than a month's worth of rain fell in just a few hours early Wednesday. As much as 11 inches of rain fell in parts of Marion County, Arkansas, which is in the Ozark Mountains. At least 80 people had to evacuate a nursing home in Yellville, the county seat. Emergency management officials say a section of a bridge washed out and a historic courthouse was flooded. As many as 40 residents had to evacuate their homes in the Marion County city of Flippin. The Arkansas Farm Bureau telling us so far they have heard reports of hay bales being washed away. Officials report the area has gone from drought conditions in some cases now to flash flooding. And Arkansas remains in the bullseye for heavy rain and flooding today. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us with an update. Matt.
Yeah, we got a flooding potential in that area, but also in and across the south and the southeast. The Arklatex area is where we're looking. 15 to 40% chance of some flooding, where you see that yellow. And then the green, obviously, is the 5 to 15. But notice how it kind of sits down here to the south. A quiet pattern setting up across the Midwest with some cooler than average temperatures is going to kind of stabilize that atmosphere. But as you get back down here to where that moisture is located, where that cold front really wasn't able to break through, it's right along there that we're looking at the potential for not only heavy downpours, maybe isolated severe weather, and then of course flooding, as you can see on the map here. Over here on the East Coast, once again, a soaking rainfall, 15 to 40% chance for eastern North Carolina, also a little bit into Virginia. Now that's coming up on Thursday. Also, monsoon season starting to kick up, seeing some rain possibly in Arizona. And talk about a transformation. Our friend John Kutchko sharing these two photos. Kutchko Digital top is a 1909 block barn in Cuba, New York in the winter. On the bottom, the same barn, same location, taken in the summer, but in the country of Cuba. No, I'm kidding. It's Cuba, New York. He says while the seasons change, the beauty remains constant. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Now, we've been keeping you updated on this. Layoffs at the world's largest ag equipment maker, John Deere. And now there are reports it will lay off even more people next week. Several news agencies in Iowa reporting Deere & Company is planning to announce layoffs that will impact salaried positions next Wednesday. They're citing a letter that was sent to employees earlier this week. Now, in it, the company said that despite efforts to contain costs and optimize production and inventory levels, strategies implemented, including a global hiring freeze, have proven insufficient. The company citing declining customer demand along with rising costs and economic uncertainties as reasons for the possible additional layoffs. In total, John Deere has laid off nearly 2,000 workers between September of last year to earlier this month. Meanwhile, John Deere is also announcing changes to its policies on diversity, equity, and inclusion, issuing this statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying it has revised corporate guidelines to solely focus on sponsorships supporting the business and the brand. It says it will no longer participate in or support, quote, external social or cultural awareness parades, festivals, or events, end quote. However, it says it fundamentally believes in a diverse workforce. Recently, we reported on similar actions being taken by Tractor Supply, which announced plans to step away from what it calls non-business activities. The Dow is well above 41,000, while commodities continue to see mixed moves this week. We'll discuss the cotton market coming up next. And later, these gentle giants have some big fans as a 4-H club dedicated to showing draft horses celebrates a milestone in Indiana today in the country. What has caused grocery prices to spike since the pandemic? Well, one economist with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York looked into it. His key findings: the underlying price of commodities, especially grains, saw significant increases, and that rise cascaded down to other food items such as beef, pork, poultry, eggs, and dairy products. Meanwhile, wages at supermarkets rose substantially, and he says that contributed to higher grocery prices. He says while grain prices have slumped since 2022, wages continue to rise, with average hourly earnings up 6% in May from a year before. Now, he says further analysis suggests that price gouging was not a significant factor behind these price increases. Corn favoring the upside for a second day, while wheat was the star, pushing higher after 3 days of selling. AgDay's Michelle Rook looks into the cotton market, which has been under pressure for a few months in markets now.
Joining us for markets now is John Payne with Advanced Trading. John, let's talk about this cotton market. We have had a steep slide down since the March highs were put in. So let's talk about part of it is supply. We've got bigger acreage, we've got bigger production and ending stocks showing up in the WASDE, right?
Yeah. So the March rally you mentioned brought about acreage, at least the intentions of acreage by the USDA report in June, that, we're going to see acreage up, and that brought the carryover with a trend yield above 3 million bales, which is kind of a good level to say. It's kind of like a 2 billion number for corn now. When you're above that, the market seems well supplied. And at the same time, you have the developing world that has really struggled. That's well priced in at this point. I think that's why cotton is in the 70s. But we're not seeing merchandisers make more money. Look at Nike stock, for example, that's just completely cratered here this year. And the bottom line is we don't use it in this country. So if you're going to rely on an export market and you have a really strong currency, you're getting boxed out by the Brazilians and the Australians and other markets into Asia. So demand is a question, but we are in the early stages of the cotton crop here. Promises, at least from the weather people I read, that we are going to see a little more of a volatile tropical season. So maybe that could bring in some risk down the road. So I would be hesitant to get too short cotton at these prices. We're well below crop insurance price levels. So for now, I think you kind of wait and see what the crop looks like.
Yeah, and you mentioned demand and exports, and it's really about China and their economy still being quite slow, right?
Yeah, consumer in China is incredibly slow. That's the problem. Their export markets have picked up, their manufacturing space has picked up, but the consumer in China is still struggling, hasn't really come back from COVID. And we saw that with their CPI numbers last week showing, food consumables down 2% year over year, which is, we relied on China growing at 7% inflation numbers for ags to grow and for, more and more to be used by them. And at this point, it's hard to see them coming in and saving the day, especially given the political climate that we're maybe facing with the new president and, possibly a new trade war.
All right, thanks so much, John Payne, joining us with Advanced Trading. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
Precipitation forecast over the next 24 hours, but then we'll extend it out. You'll see the area that we're expecting the heaviest rainfall. The flooding potential map that we just looked at. What's interesting about this is the dividing line between rain and heavy rain and no rain, dryness. Dry air. A cold front has come through, and you can see exactly where it sets up. South of there, those dew points are going to stay elevated. The chance of rain stays elevated. North of that front, you're looking at cooler temperatures, cooler than average temperatures, and that's actually going to spill from the Midwest back out here towards the west as well. So we actually got a large area where that pattern, that instability in the atmosphere will actually be suppressed, so not expecting much. But where you're south of that cold front, and that is a pocket of 3, possibly 4 inches of rainfall. Over the course of the next couple of days, it will start to fill back in. But one of the reasons why we're kind of honing in on below average temperatures for a large portion of the United States, you can see just how strong that stable part of the atmosphere is going to be sitting over the Midwest. In fact, you're out the next 7 days, and for the first time in, it seems like months, no rain in the forecast, at least at this point, in Illinois, Indiana, northern Indiana, and Michigan under this pattern. As you go north off to the northwest, while I'm not expecting heavy downpours, there's going to be some rain around in the Dakotas, but also into Minnesota. And look at that, really start to light back up with the heavy downpours in and across parts of the south and the southeast. That wet trend will continue. So again, that's the precipitation forecast. As for what's going on in the jet stream, so that pocket of cool air, stable air, is going to be over the Midwest for Thursday and also a little bit into the weekend as well. We'll start off in Arizona, mostly sunny, high around 101 degrees, low about 77 degrees. What about Grand Chute, Wisconsin? Mostly sunny, high of 79, low of 58. Williston, North Dakota, sunny, high of 90 degrees.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is filing a lawsuit against the Bureau of Land Management. It's over what it calls its misguided conservation and landscape health rule, which was finalized earlier this year. Now, BLM says the rule is designed to support ecosystem health and resilience, protect landscapes, restore degraded habitat, and make informed management decisions based on science and data. Now, NCBA says the rule threatens generations of family ranching operations here in the U.S., adding that the rule serves as a stepping stone to remove livestock grazing from the nation's public lands. NCBA is joined in the lawsuit by the American Farm Bureau Federation, along with other farm and mining groups. It was filed in the U.S. District Court in Wyoming. It's happened again. More beef being stolen out of semi-trucks, this time in Philadelphia. Local news agencies reporting thieves made off with $15,000 worth of beef. They say it was taken from a truck parked in the southwest part of the city, and police believe the beef bandits are part of a crime ring and may be responsible for similar robberies that happened last year. Now, investigators say the suspects hit around 4:30 Tuesday morning by breaking into the trailer and swiping 200 cases of beef. Draft horses are giant, majestic creatures, but getting them ready for the show takes a little hard work and some big effort. We'll meet an Indiana 4-H club putting members to the test in the country next. Draft horses can stand over 6 feet tall and weigh as much as 2,500 pounds. But despite their size, these gentle giants have found their way into the hearts of 4-Hers in LaPorte County, Indiana. AgDay photojournalist Russ Natusco takes us to the LaPorte County Fair to see the 4-H wagon masters at work.
The rain has changed our scheduling. We have to get a plan together how we're going to make the day go. We are the biggest 4-H draft horse club in the U.S. We're not going out trying to recruit kids. The kids are what's selling the 4-H project.
Yeah, it's 30 minutes. You have to do a mane roll in the mane and braid their foretop and their tail, put a tail bow in. And that's mainly for showing horses. When you're at big shows and stuff, they do that for halter classes and hitch.
We have grades 3 through 5 represent our juniors, 6 through 8 grades represent our intermediates, 9 through 12 represent our seniors.
So you did a very nice job.
Thank you. What's going through my mind is making sure Woody, it looks good, and making sure I smile and having a fun time mostly.
We've got inner city kids, we've had country kids, and it's just given everybody an opportunity to get hands-on with draft horses.
The people in the Draft Horse Club, that's something that also brought me to it, because the people we're all support each other, we all help each other out.
The families, the kids will sell the project and we'll get new kids coming in. So it's just a snowball effect of keeping this tradition alive. I mean, like I said, 55 kids this year, we've maintained them numbers for the last 10 years.
This club, you don't have to own your own horses. You can just come in and the 4-H leaders will assign you an owner and you show their horses.
Just learning to trust the horse. Working with them definitely helps to just trust them, and you gain respect for them and they gain respect for you. Draft horses in general, they're majestic creatures, but almost mythical, but they're really sweet and kind.
You're thinking these little kids that are this tall weigh 80 pounds, how are they going to handle a ton horse? But they're gentle giants. They respect the little kids. They know they're there. The horses are very smart.
I'm very happy that it's the 50th anniversary, and I can't wait for it to be the 100th in the next
50 years.
You think you'd be running it?
Maybe. Who knows?
A lot of these horse owners enjoy working with these kids. A few of them might not even have kids. And everybody appreciates the time and the dedication that these kids want to put into this. Because like I said, this is so unique. You don't see this anywhere.
Hi, baby.
All right, thanks, Russ. Now, past members of the 4-H Wagon Masters have worked with draft horses at Mackinac Island in Michigan and at Budweiser with the world-famous Clydesdales. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Thanks for watching. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.